International Monetary Fund (IMF) has downgraded Nigeria's projections for this year and next despite sub-Saharan Africa seeing greater projections than the developed economies. It says Nigeria will slow down to 2.9% this year and inch up to 3.1% by 2024.
So on sub-Saharan Africa, we have a slight downward revision for the region as a whole. I mean, we're expecting growth at about 3.3% this year, and that's a 0.2 percentage point downward revision. There's a slight downward revision also for next year to about 4%.
For Nigeria, in particular, we have a growth forecast that goes from 3.3% this year to 2.9% next year, before going up to 3.1% in 2024. There's a downward revision for this year. Partly this is because of the demonetization, the high inflation, the shocks to agriculture and hydrocarbon output. That's coming on top of those external headwinds. I would also add that President Tinubu has moved quickly with important reforms, including ending the fuel subsidies and unifying the official exchange rate. We welcome these initial bold reforms because we see them as paving the way towards stronger and inclusive growth.
The Group of 24 Economies has put forward a position that there is a need for reform of the multilateral system to address global challenges at the annual meetings of the World Bank and IMF holding in Marrakech, Morocco. They noted that the global economic landscape is uncertain, with many countries affected by declining access to and tight external finance conditions, high debt levels, and rising inflation. The group welcomed the United Nations Secretary-General's inclusive and effective tax reform agenda and called for a multilateral consensus to drive enduring progress on the initiative, as it would foster a more just and balanced international tax system.
The food shock window was supposed to be a temporary facility that ought to expire sometime this year, but as part of the concern about the persistence of food shock, persistence of inflation, the IMF board did come to an agreement to extend the window. So that then gives more countries the opportunity to qualify and use the window. So that's, and we are happy with that as G24, because many of our countries are, impacted by high food prices, and some of them are using the window and some of them are using other forms of facilities.
Nigeria's central bank has denied allegations that its digital currency, the eNaira, is a threat for financial stability. The bank, in a statement signed by the Director of Corporate Communications at the bank, Dr. Issa Abdulmumin, attributed the misunderstanding to some articles in the bank's recently released Economics of Digital Currencies, a book of readings. A recurring theme in the book is the interest of regulators, such as CBN, in the role of cryptocurrencies as speculative investments and the potential threat they harbor for financial stability. Pursuant to that, the articles in the book provide an in-depth understanding of CBDCs generally and the workings of the eNaira in particular, highlighting issues and challenges in implementation and adoption, the statement adds. The statement also reads, eNaira structure continues to evolve and undergo modifications targeted at improving the user experience across all interfaces, and encourage Nigerians to embrace the technology for, amongst other things, greater financial inclusion. Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) has again become the sole importer of petrol because local private firms are unable to obtain foreign currency. Mele Kyari, chief executive, disclosed this early this week, 4 months after imports were opened up to private players. Kyari also said the government have not reintroduced a decades-old petrol subsidy scrapped at the end of May. Despite concerns from investors of a de facto return as pump prices have not moved since July, even as there has been a more than 30% rise in oil prices.